Round number 3, let's go!
Ding, ding, ding.
Just a heads up, I'm freaking tired. I had a super long day. I go on vacation in 2 days and I have to push in like 8 days of work within 2.5 to 3 days. So my brain might be a little fried and it's going to be a very funny conversation sometimes, just as a heads up.
Hey, that just means that I have a better chance of winning the argument, you know, so...
I mean, I heard you say before we started that I'm always right. So sadly, we don't have it on recording, but we can repeat it in like a few seconds if you would like to. So we have it black and white or on sound. I don't know how you say that, but yeah.
Yeah, you also cannot really say we have it in written.
I don't know.
Anyway, we'll have it on
my brain
recording.
already starts. Let's move on to the topic. Otherwise,
Otherwise, we lose Killian right away from the start.
Yeah.
Good.
Already
or
happened,
not
I
good.
guess. All right, today's topic, fitness myths. I think I was mostly excited for this, but also a little scared because you come from a more studied side or academia side, and I'm like, yeah, I go into the gym, I listen to the biggest guy and do what he tells me to, if it makes sense or not, kind of guy. So there's probably going to be different approaches to things. Maybe we have the same opinion, maybe not. But I think the argumentation will be very different mostly. But we will see. I don't want to go ahead of myself.
Yeah, no, I have the same feeling because you're more the traditional gym bro. And I say that with all the love.
Sure.
I'm more a bit... on the science side. I mean, I am a scientist, but I'm not an exercise scientist. But still, I'm definitely, I think, the bigger nerd of the two of us.
Depends on how you define nerd, but more the science-based nerd.
Yeah. I mean, you've seen my source document for this episode.
Yes. So I was a little scared because I didn't have any kind of sources. I have my knowledge from like 10 years of going to the gym, but maybe that's going to be enough. Maybe not. Otherwise, I'm going to pull something out of my thingy to make up something to win the argument. But yeah, maybe let's start with where we come from in terms of gym environment, because I feel like, and we also already touched base it a little before the podcast, I think it's very different. What is for you a good gym? Like, what do you like about a gym, or what does a gym need to be considered as a good gym?
I mean, the ideal gym for me would be it has all the equipment I need and no people. Maybe I should get myself a home gym. No,
with all the equipment.
No, I don't have the space, neither the space nor the money for that, unfortunately. What makes a good gym for me is, I mean, the basic requirement is that it has all the equipment that I need. That includes barbells, that includes dumbbells, ideally going up to heavier weights. I mean, I'm not lifting as much as you do, so I don't need a 60 kg dumbbell. But it should go up to 30, 40 kilograms, I think. Then it should have a decent selection of machines too, because especially on leg day, I use quite a lot of machines, quad extensions, leg curls, and so on, leg press, you name it. They should be well maintained. I don't really care how old they are, but if I get the feeling that whenever I touch the thing, it falls apart, or the dumbbell falls in my face because the weight on either side falls off, I don't like that. In terms of people, I mean, I like when people are just dedicated and you can kind of feel that everyone who's there actually just is there to work out mostly. I don't mind like your normal gym bro. What I don't like is people who are just there for posing, kind of, and this includes both men and women.
The fitfluencers.
Exactly. I mean, I've filmed myself during workouts too for Instagram or YouTube, so it's not necessarily the filming itself. I also don't mind if I appear somewhere in the background in the video, but you can really tell the difference between those who just go to the gym, take a selfie, and then basically pack their things and go home again, just to say on Instagram, I've been to the gym. I was there. And those who do their workout and then afterwards take a selfie or record their form or whatever, maybe make informative content. I think you can really spot the difference.
Absolutely. And I fully agree. That's something that annoys the shit out of me. I mean, I think Marcus Rule said this once in an interview. He was like, yeah, if you go to the gym and you get back out of the gym and you look the same, then you did something wrong. Then you didn't train. Then you visited the place, but you didn't train really something. But interesting, I feel quite similar. I like it when there's not too many people. But for me, I have a little bit different requirements, I think, in terms of machines and stuff. Of course, I like it when there's a variety, but I think I can live with like 3-4 machines and dumbbells and a barbell. But at the end of the day, as long as there's heavy ass weight, you can drop on the floor when it's too much, and you can enjoy your workout a lot, then there's a good gym. And for me, like, to get really into the mood, to have like a real cool gym experience, I like it when it's a little bit dark and dirty, and it's like, it doesn't need to be well maintained. Maybe a little bit rusty, it doesn't look that safe probably, or maybe it has seen better days, and it's just like, there are people in there, they have their hoodies on, and you look at them and they're like, and I know it's super stereotype, but there's the people that are fighting demons or preparing for battle or whatever, or mentally are just needing the gym and the weights, and they're for themselves. You're like, hey bro, can you spot? Sure. You spot, you walk away. No small talk, no nothing. Just going at it, hardcore, heavyweight, and having fun. Or fun, like doing your thing. And I think for me that's the essential, like to have this mood in the gym that everybody is practicing for a purpose and not just being there to post it on Instagram that you've been there. And for me, a must-have is a 24/7. Like I need to be able to access it 24/7 to come and go whenever I want. Showers are nice to have in my eyes. Sure, it's nice to have, but you can shower at home or at work or something. But this old school kind of thing, everybody does his or her thing, and you just focused AF and you go hardcore. However that looks like, you can go hardcore AF with 5 kg or 50, as long as you put all the work. I think that's very important for me.
Now, so kind of why you like the old rusty gym is not necessarily because you like your machines old and rusty. It's more because it attracts a certain type of people, namely the type of people who take training very seriously, who are there for a purpose, who just go in, do their workout and leave again. But it's kind of more what it is associated with that, but not necessarily. So if you could have that in a modern gym, would you still prefer the old one or go to a modern one?
I think I'd prefer the old one.
Really? Okay.
Just for, I don't know, it's just a feeling. It just feels different in my eyes. I practice in very new gyms, like high-tech stuff with air resistance, electronical resistance, and whatever kind of BS there is in my eyes. But I like to have these old metal plates, you put them on, even if it's a 5-pound plate, make it sound like it's a 45, you put them on there, and you slam the weights around in certain areas, of course, and still behave. But I've practiced in these old school gyms, like in this, let's say, more hardcore kind of gyms, and I've been there, and there've been like grandmas, 70, 75 years of age, and they're doing their workout to stay fit, and they're super nice and super friendly, but they're also there for a purpose, and they're going, yeah, I want to stay healthy, want to be with my grandkids and everything, and they don't chat you up. They like let you do your workout, and when you go to the checkout or get a protein shake after, then they start to chat. And I think that's very interesting, because it's a very different group of people, but they're also there with a purpose, and they also like to do their thing. Of course, after they're a little bit more chatty than most people, but that's fully fine in my eyes. And I love to hear the stories because they have a little bit more experience in life than we do. And it's super nice to see them every day. I used to go to the gym at 5 a.m. And there was one woman, I think, back in the day when I lived in the US, and she was always there every morning at 5 a.m. And I slacked. That was like 3 out of 5 days, but I talked to her once and she was always there 5 days a week, just to stay healthy for her grandkids. And I was like amazed. It was super cool to see for me.
That is amazing. It's also super nice that she had this realization, hey, I need to do something about my health, about my fitness. If I want to stay fit for my grandkids, I think this is a very nice purpose for working out.
Absolutely.
And especially for older people. I'm a huge proponent of the elderlies going to the gym regularly, because it helps so much with balance, with muscles, with preventing bone loss, preventing injuries. So this is really, really cool.
I think at the end of the day, to summarize this 10-minute outburst in our gym topics.
Gym preferences, yeah.
Gym preferences. I would say, as long as you're in the gym to do something for you, for yourself, to improve on whatever level that is, because there's a variety of people that work on different goals. That's perfect. That's amazing. I think if you go to the gym just to be seen or to be able to post something. Of course, if it's kind of your job as an influencer, sure, but you can be this kind or that kind of influencer, you know. But I think it also needs to, there are gyms that are more made for this, and there are gyms that are less made for this kind of stuff.
The gyms I've gone to before are very different. So I've gone to a very heavily bodybuilding focused gym where everyone was super friendly. And this was actually the only gym where I really talked to people, because they were open to chat a bit after their workout or give you a spot and then you get talking. But the other gyms have been more like commercial gyms, franchises, and there you encounter quite a lot of different people from all walks of life. But then again, I think also my interactions have been quite different maybe from yours, because I feel like in this day and age, guys don't really talk to women. I have a feeling, probably because they're scared that they will end up on the internet doing some supposedly creepy shit. I've given my opinion on that before, but
Yeah,
on the other hand, on the bright side, I can just go in, do my stuff and leave again and not be bothered by anyone.
Yeah, I think just to, if you spot somebody and there's just a weird camera angle, you're gonna be put on the spot, if it's the case or not. And yes, there are creepy and weird people in the gym. I mean, had my fair share of experiences with that, especially if you go to the gym at like 3 a.m. But at the end of the day, I think, yeah, everybody just looks out for themselves, because you never know what other people's target is or want to do. And if you see each other more in the gym, like when you see, okay, Nina's there like 3-4 times a week and we always around the same time, then you might talk to that person or also interact like, hey, can you spot? But if you don't have this kind of experience, I think nobody's gonna approach, especially women nowadays, because it's, yeah, the gym community in that way turned quite bad through social media, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. But social media hasn't just ruined, if we can say this. I think it's also spread quite a lot of fitness myths or misconceptions, which is actually the topic of today's
that
podcast.
That was an amazing translation. Or
Thank you. I actually just thought of it right now. Transition, whatever, we don't care.
My brain is fried. We noted down 5 fitness myths which we want to talk about, and I think there's also some more based on these we can jump into. And I think let's just start with the first one and either debunk it, and I go with my bro science, and you can either comply with your science background or tell me how right I am with my bro science. And number 1 is getting bulky by accident. And I hear that so many times. If I talk, especially to women, they're like afraid to touch a dumbbell which is heavier than 5 kg, and they're going to look like Ronnie Coleman after a day.
Man, I wish I could touch a dumbbell and get this big. I wish it were that easy, because it really isn't. As a woman, it's freaking hard. I mean, building muscle, I think you can testify to that too, is not an easy task, regardless of your sex. But especially for women, we're so disadvantaged compared to men in terms of how much muscle we can gain, how fast we can gain it. So I'm going with this is complete bullshit.
I fully agree, because at the end of the day, and I know a lot of people are going to kill me if I say it, but you gain or lose weight with your food. The amount of food you eat, is it higher than what you need a day, or is it lower what you need a day? And that's going to decide if you gain or lose fat. And it fucks me up when I hear people like, I'm just looking at cake and I'm gaining weight. I'm like, shut the fuck up. It's not true. Yes, you might have a very low calorie baseline, but at the end of the day, if you work out, you can also eat more. And that's the same with getting too bulky by accident. Of course, if my calorie baseline is 1,000 calories and I eat 5,000 calories a day, I'm gonna get fucking fat, insanely fast, normally. But if I'm like maintaining my calories with like 1,500 or 2,000 calories a day, and that's my maintenance level, I can go to the gym as hardcore as I want. I will not get big. No chance. If I don't eat more. Of course, you will get more toned, you will get more muscly, and you will see the one or other vein probably, but you will not get big. You get just more toned. Because if you lose body fat, which you will when you practice a lot and don't eat more, you will lose probably body fat, I guess. maybe also some muscle, but mostly also body fat and intramuscular water, probably. Depends if you take creatine or not and stuff like that. But you will not get big. You will even get smaller because you lose fat and you gain muscle. And muscle is like 1/3 of the size, right? You're more the science-based corner in our conversation. But
I mean, this is, I guess, it's density, but yeah.
yeah, density, size, whatever. Tomato. But yeah, I sorry for elaborating this much, but
No, go
it
ahead.
really, it gets my pulse running. And even though my brain's fried today, it still gets my heart rate up because I hear it so often and it makes me so angry because it's just not true.
It's one of these things that, for me, it doesn't make me angry. I don't want to say disappointed, but it just seems quite ridiculous almost to me that this myth or lie is spread around. It's quite simple what you need to do to build muscle. You need to lift weights, you need to lift heavy, you need to progressively overload, and you need to eat both the right amount of calories, but also the right types of food, especially protein. I don't care about the rest so much. There are a couple of things you need to get right, and do this consistently over years, not weeks, not months, but years to actually see progress. You can't do this shit accidentally. It just doesn't happen. And it's also quite a slow process. I dug up some numbers, and for women, in the beginning, you can expect about 0.5 kilogram of muscle per month. So that would be about 6 kilograms per year that you can add in total. For men, it's about twice that. And obviously, this number goes down as you gain years of experience.
But I think it's also very individual, though.
Yeah, these are just
extremely
average numbers. It all depends on your age, your sex, your genetics, your previous training experience. This will all play into how fast you can actually build muscle. But still, even these factors aside, it's not easy. It's a rather slow process. And once you are happy, you can just cut back on the calories or train a bit less intensely and basically freeze the physique that you have. And that's kind of what I think many people misunderstand.
Yeah, and I think it's also widely spread BS, as said in social media usually, because what I wanted to add in before, it's individual. When back in the day when I lived in the US, I think within 5 months I gained 20 to 30 pounds, and I was just like eating a shit ton of meat, potatoes, rice and pasta, because I was living together with a friend, both male. We could use the grill. Anything beyond was challenging, let's phrase it this way. But we ate a lot of steaks, a lot of chicken, a lot of potatoes, and it worked. And like, I didn't work out that many times, like only 3-4 times a week, but regularly. And I was like 19 years old and like 20 to 30 pounds. Boom. Within 5 months, which is insane in my eyes. That's like 10 to 12 kilos, I guess. Mm-hmm. And quite heavily. You could see it, like I couldn't wear any kind of shirt I brought with me to the US. I had to buy everything new. I ripped all my jeans, like bending over when I tying my shoes. And they're like ripped in the office in the morning, and I had like 1 hour way back home, and I was like, shit, my pants ripped. And like I'm at work, I have like customer meetings and stuff, or with management. I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna sit and don't move, and it's gonna be fine. But you know, these are kind of experiences, and I think the issue is, or the differentiation for me is, I know this was a one-time thing. I was 19, I was quite fresh into the real gym. I was going to the gym before, but not really training. And then I trained, I had a PT for that time, because I was like, why not? And I had quite a lot of meat compared to what I ate before, spiking like 300-400%. And yes, it's probably not the right way to do it, but it worked for that time in my life. And it's like a one-time thing you do, and it's never going to work like this again. I'm not going to gain 12 kilos again in 5 months. That's impossible.
It was probably also some sort of newbie gains.
Of
because
course.
Even though you've been to the gym, not to that extent, and not with a coach, and not with that nutrition alongside.
Fully with you. Newbie gains all the way. Enjoy while it lasts. It's a one-time thing.
I think you can get them again if you've had an extended break from working out, and then you restart. Then you experience something similar to newbie gains. But if you've been training consistently over many years, then yeah, enjoy them in the beginning. No, but I think we both agree that getting bulky by accident is just a plain myth and not really something that people should be worried about.
Yeah.
Do you have any speculation idea where this might come from? Because it's mostly about women, right?
You really want to go down this road?
Yeah, go ahead. We can edit it out if it sucks.
Sure. I mean, if you tell somebody if you touch a dumbbell and you look like Ronnie Coleman, and like, yeah, it happened to me too overnight, and 20 people tell you that, you're going to believe it, especially in social media if you follow all of these kind of people. And I think there we need to have a very healthy differentiation between these kind of things. And I think one thing is what people tell on social media and what actually happened, because a lot of influencers are on, let's call it vitamins.
Yeah,
so
okay. Special type of vitamins.
A lot of influencers are most probably on special type of vitamins. And I've trained with people that are using this kind of stuff, and I've seen the differences, and they're quite significant, and it's freaking impressive what they can do with it. But these are the kind of people that are using special vitamins that are going to get 12 kilos heavier within 5 months. And even that is almost impossible for somebody who trained forever to gain this much muscle in this short of amount of time, even with special help. Sorry for rambling and going all the way in different directions, but for me it's like a constellation out of different things. One is this kind of influencers, they tell you a lot of shit, like all these fitness influencers that go to the gym to make the pictures. They're like touching a dumbbell and doing 3 reps, and that's all the people see in social media. Like, yeah, she did 3 reps and her biceps looked like Arnie's. Of course they're going to be afraid, because that's all they consume all day long. And that's why they're going to be like, I'm not doing it because I don't want to get too bulky, because they're getting bulky with 1 exercise a day. And yeah, so I think it's very complex construct actually out of all these elements. But I think it's mostly the negative influence we have from social media.
I mean, I agree with that concluding statement. I'm not sure whether seeing an influencer basically just do 3 reps of whatever exercise, but still having a huge, let's say a biceps, contributes so much, because it can explain it on the surface level, but deep down, I think there must be an underlying cause. Why are you afraid of getting bulky? Or in other words, why isn't it, let's say, a beauty standard or whatever to look a certain way, to look very muscular, especially as females? And I think with the word beauty standard, for me, that's kind of where this might come from, that maybe people don't, not necessarily, I mean, you're the guy in that discussion, so you correct me if I'm wrong, but it's probably women's perception that men will not find them attractive, or maybe women don't find themselves attractive if they are quite muscular, even though that might actually not be true, because there's probably quite a great variety in what men like.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's also that, now touching a different topic, but maybe also a lot of men are insecure. And like, if you're not, I mean, if I look in the mirror, I feel like 5'2" and 130 pounds. That's how I feel. Even though I'm 6'3" and 230. So, and sorry for switching between metric and American system. As I said, my brain is a little bit gone today.
I mean, I can handle it. I'm fine with the conversions.
All good. But for me, I think a lot of men, I mean, I suffer from heavily body dysmorphia because I feel super small and tiny. Even though if I have a good day and if I have a good pump and look in the mirror, I'm like, and that's also started like end of last year. So October 2024 was like the first time I was like, it's starting to look okay-ish. Not looking good, but okay-ish.
Hey, but that's progress.
It's
very
progress.
Nice.
But if you stand within a group of 100 people, or 100 men in my case, and then you're probably 1 out of the 5 that goes to the gym, or 1 out of the 10 that goes to the gym, and then you're 1 out of 3 that goes regularly to the gym, you know, it's a very small circle, but you compare yourself always to the better version. What I want to say with this, if that's also an assumption, if men get a girlfriend that is very well built, very muscular, and very disciplined, and they're afraid that they're not going to be man enough to handle it, or they're like intimidated, or they're, I don't know, feel insecure, jealous probably. And I think it's that as a main point, Because if I see a well-trained female body or a well-trained female, I'm like, damn, girl, putting in the work, great, love it, keep going. I think it's amazing also that females do sports, bodybuilding, CrossFit, whatsoever. And I think it's extremely impressive, even as a woman, when it's way harder to achieve this, that you go there and get it. I personally think it's a very attractive trait in a woman to be very sporty, muscular, of course, also to a certain degree. I don't think that bodybuilding is attractive. I love to look at it because it's impressive as fuck, but I don't think it's attractive. But that's my personal taste, and it's quite different for everybody, right? I don't know how it is for you on the male side, though.
I do agree. I mean, elite level bodybuilders, especially the enhanced ones, the physiques are impressive from a training point of view. To me, it's not attractive anymore. I do like when men are trained and you can see it, but Arnold or, I don't know, Sebum or that kind of level of muscularity is just impressive and nothing else. Yeah. That's how I see it.
I can see that, yeah. But I mean, for me, if you touch base this topic, for me, Sebum is just the GOAT. It's like Daddy Sebum. He's just, yeah, I don't know what to say. That's like, for me, peak male physique. That's everything I want to achieve, kind of, you know. It's the way to go. Because the open scene, open bodybuilding, for me, the guys are too big in my eyes now. There is no, or they're going back to having a line, like back in the day with Ronnie and stuff, but now it's just mass monsters and they're like really, really big. And for me, it's too big. That's why I like classic much better. And the guys are very well proportionate, and they do have a weight limit, which I think is good, so they don't grow crazy. And that's why I think this for me is peak male performance or appearance, or however you want to name it. I will never get there, but I will not stop chasing it, because I think to look like this, that's freaking impressive.
Yeah, but I mean, in the end, you have to do it for yourself. If you want to achieve it because you want to look that way, then absolutely 100% go for it. But I don't think that you should work out or strive for such a physique to impress anyone, be it men or women. Because at least for me, and this is super off topic now, but what makes someone attractive is not just the physique. I would lie if I said it doesn't play a role at all, because it does to some extent. Whether you have a little bit more or less muscle, in the end, if you're a nice guy, I don't really mind. So that's why I think if you do work out, don't do it with the intention of impressing people. Do it with the intention of doing it for yourself. Maybe impressing yourself with what you can do.
Yeah, I'm fully with you. I just think it's really important to have this vision, like where you want to go, whatever the reason is. Because I think Sebum said this in his final interview. He was like, I want to set the standard 6 years ago. And in my eyes, he set the freaking standard. And I love it how he did it on where the scene is right now. And everybody's still comparing it to him. And yes, there might be other bodybuilders that are better in certain parts or stuff like this. But for me, his appearance, like the whole thing, the name, the brand, the person, it's just a fit. And it's just cool. I just like it. I'm a little fanboy, therefore, but I think it's just amazing, yeah.
I mean, nothing wrong with that too. Speaking of bodybuilding, we have another myth that is probably not as much about women specifically, but rather popular in, let's say, among gym bros, which is that you have to consume some sort of protein within, let's say, half an hour to 1 hour after your workout. Otherwise, you will just lose the gains that you've made in during the workout. And this is also known as the anabolic window. What's your opinion on that?
Short answer, it's a partial bullshit.
Partial bullshit. Okay. Bullshit. So now I'm curious for the long answer.
For me, when I started training, I was like, I don't know, 15, 16, something like that. I was very like a stick. I was a real twig. Super small, 6'3", and I don't know how heavy it was, but it was like barely visible. Anyhow, I started practicing, and I was always told after workout, like within half an hour, you have to drink your shake. I'm like, okay, nice, I do it because you're my PT. I do what you tell me to. Let's go. And when I also listen to a lot of people, they like, yeah, you have to drink your shake before practice or during practice or whatever. And on the other hand, I'm like, yeah, but you drink protein, it's gonna go into your stomach. And I don't know the English word, but gären for it. And it will build bubbles. Yeah, ferment, thanks. Ferment in your stomach, and you're gonna burp, you're gonna fart, and it's just gonna not help your training if you do it before or during practice. I'm like, guys, that's just fucking bullshit to consume it before or during practice. What I feel like the anabolic window is known, and then I'll let you talk, is mostly about protein intake right after practice. And I think fair enough, you should consume protein around your practice time. I strongly believe you should not do it before. You should do it after. You can then science it up. But I also believe you need to eat properly before and after. I trained at 5 a.m. for a while, and yeah, it works. But I've never had the same heavy of lifts, as I did with a full stomach. Because if I eat at like 5 p.m. and I go to the gym at 7, I have like 2 hours to digest, like big portion, a little chicken, not too much because of the protein, mostly carbs, a little bit of fat, and maybe some aminos, EAAs, whatever, just for the taste mostly. Then you go to the gym, best workout ever. You come home, you drink your shake, you eat your second dinner or something like that. Perfect evening. But you need to eat before and after in my eyes. Of course, if you can only do one, you only do one before or after, but ideally you eat before and after, so you're fueled for your workout, but you also have fuel so your body can recover at the end of the day. And also there, my last comment now, to eat before you sleep, some people heavily disagree. I love it to eat a big portion, get on the balcony, maybe drink an espresso, chill out a little bit in the fresh air, lay down. I know it's probably not the best for my body or for my recovery, but it just works for me, and it's a very good ritual to really prepare the body for the night. Big meal, small espresso, sleep. But yeah, that's for me anabolic window topic. Now hand over to you for the science-based answer.
I mean, first of all, thanks for mentioning EAAs and not BCAAs, because BCAAs, just forget about them, as you probably know, but many
it's
listeners...
very expensive pee.
Yeah, exactly. No, forget about BCAAs. Anyone who's listening or watching, they're not worth the money. But you seem to do quite some stuff non-standard, like drinking espresso and eating a lot before going to bed. Although, especially with the last point, I think some people or many people are afraid of eating late at night because they think it will make them fat, which is totally not true if you stay within your caloric limit. If you don't exceed your daily expenditure, then you're totally fine whenever you eat. What could be a problem for some people if they eat late at night is that their stomach is just so full, and that's why they cannot fall asleep, because they're heavily digesting. But coming back to the anabolic window again, I think what you say is actually very valid. So I would also say that the anabolic window, as it is portrayed, is bullshit. But there's some truth to it, so that's why I kind of laughed when you said partial bullshit, because for me it's also kind of partial bullshit. The 30 to 60 minute window is nonsense, but there is some sort of window.
But not for protein, right?
You're mentioning carbs probably, right? No, but for protein there's also some sort of window that is around 5 to 6 hours, but around the training, so you can eat it before or after. Doesn't really matter. There is a slight advantage to doing this, but there's also many studies that basically just show if your daily total protein intake meets your needs that you have to build muscle or whatever goal you have, then that is by far the most important factor. And it doesn't really matter when you eat it, whether it's before, during, after your workout, or even 10 hours later. Because even people who do intermittent fasting, and they might not eat within a few hours after their workout, they can also make impressive gains, right? Which also just supports this idea of total protein intake being the most important one. But I guess if you want to really optimize your training, if you're trying to squeeze out that last percentage points of gains that you can make and you've optimized everything else, then sure, go for it.
Yeah, but I think also with this fasting stuff, I highly believe that's not the right way to build a body. If you want to go into building muscle like bodybuilding or just getting big, you have to fuel the machine. You have to give it some energy. You have to give them energy before the workout, so you can work out heavy and you can recover heavy, and you need it around the clock because you cannot eat that much in your window, most probably, depends on how big your window is, that you can cover all your caloric intake needs in a way that your body can really absorb the nutrients. Not sure if there's a scientific proof of that, but that's what I firmly believe, even though science may be different, but I cannot imagine how that should work.
I mean, the thing is, I would argue if you are able to eat all your calories and all your proteins within the restricted time window that you set for yourself, then you're gonna be fine. Because for protein, for example, there's no upper limit of how much the body can absorb per meal, for example. It's not like there's a cap at 30 grams or something. But practically, I think people will run into issues that they cannot eat so much food during the limited time windows when they do intermittent fasting, that probably they're gonna miss out on some calories, some proteins, and then also some gains. So I do agree, although I think it's more with the practical implementation.
If I may make an anecdote on that, it's the same like vegan bodybuilding. That's not working. It's same with this windowed bodybuilding. That's not working. If you want to go big in bodybuilding, if you want to do the sport, and don't get me wrong, I'm not a bodybuilder. I love to train like one, but I'm far, far away from being one, and even being not even an amateur, but I love the way they train, how dedicated they are, and I think it's one of the most impressive sports there is. If you call yourself a bodybuilder and you type in, I do this intermediate fasting stuff, or you're vegan bodybuilder, or you're, I don't know what kind of weird thing, at the end of the day, you need beef, you need eggs, you need carbs, you need good stuff, you need qualitative stuff, and you just get it from the original stuff, not some super fancy power food which they cooked up in a lab, or some pills or whatever. I mean, there's nothing that can prove me otherwise, because I believe it when I see it, and I don't believe that anyone who's 100% doing this from like 12 years onwards, that they will achieve it. If you do it till 25 normally, and you maybe use even some special vitamins until 25, and then after you claim, yeah, I do intermediate fasting, I only eat every 5 days for 2 seconds, yeah, of course you're gonna have a physique from the last 25 years. But it's not gonna be based on how you live right now. And I think that's a differentiation a lot of people actually forget.
Yeah, and then we're back to people misportraying stuff on the internet. I do agree with the vegan bodybuilding, mostly because protein quality does matter. And you can do it vegetarian, because whey protein from milk and eggs, and then also if you eat eggs, that's two very good sources. But just in general, animal protein, whether that be meat or whey protein, milk products, eggs, and so on, is quite different from vegan sources of proteins like pea, soy, and so on, simply because the amino acid profile is quite different, and also the absorption is quite different. So you might have to eat even more protein, kind of nominally what is written on the packaging, to get the same effect. And that is, I think, many times not considered.
Yeah, and on the other hand, that's just also my personal opinion. If you want to do it right, and then go the most efficient way, and don't make your life more complicated than it needs to be.
I mean, what is right is very difficult to say, a very controversial thing to say, because what is the right way? It's not just your way.
Yeah, fair, but there's some things, when you say you want to do A, you have to do B. You can't say A and then you start with K again. So at the one hand, there's like, if you say you're doing this, or you're representing this, whatever this might be, and then you do something completely opposite in the next steps, then I'm questioning your decision number one.
Your commitment to that decision.
Yeah.
How
I mean, of course,
there
is also some other topics like ethics and stuff. I'm very bad at that, sorry to say. But everybody for themselves in that topic. But for me, I think if you want to do this, if you want to be a bodybuilder, you should make your life easier and do it, in my eyes, or also in a lot of people's eyes, the right way. Eat animal nutrients, because it's the fastest way on how you're gonna gain weight, how you're gonna build muscle, and how you're gonna improve.
Yeah, it's definitely very efficient to do it that way. That is true. Okay, so concluding the anabolic window, we both basically think it's, let's say, partially bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly not correct in the way that it is proposed, but you probably need to have some food before and or after your workout, ideally with some protein. And basically protein intake is what matters most.
And at the end of the day, it depends on your goal. If you go to the gym to feel good, to feel healthy, that you don't have back pain, it's a very, very different topic, and everything I said before might be reverted, better than you go to, I want to be a bodybuilder, or I want to be #1 in the CrossFit Games next year, or whatever. It's very different if you go that road.
Of course. I mean, but I don't think you need to have aspirations to be a bodybuilder to take protein intake seriously.
Yeah.
Just if you want to build muscle mass in general, if you want to improve in that regard, then this is going to be an important factor.
Yeah.
If that is your goal, you should definitely not stress about getting that shake in immediately after your workout. I believe if it helps you reach your protein target of the day, then absolutely do it. That's what I do personally, because it's just a nice time to drink my protein shake. And it really gets me closer to hitting my protein target. But it's not about me stressing about this anabolic window. If I have to defer it because I have a meeting right after, then for God's sake, I'll wait 3 hours, you know?
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter.
But for me, actually, and that's the last anecdote before we can move on,
Good.
I didn't drink a protein shake, I think, since October last year. So I completely stopped because also in my eyes, I think it's too chemical and it's expensive pee at the end of the day. If it's not possible with food, it's fine to do it. But like, I just started again to eat 2 eggs a day, and I saw my weight go up, my strength improved, and it's like super basic, but adding 2 eggs a day, and I know there's cholesterol discussion, blah, 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 different discussion. I have also very interesting opinion on that, but different topic. But 2 eggs a day, drink almost a liter milk a day, and yes, that's what I do. It helps. And add meat to your meals, it helps. You can achieve it, or on my amateur level, I can achieve my protein intake with real food and not with chemicals. Of course, I like a good protein shake with good taste. I'm not gonna say no to that, but if I can choose, I always go for natural foods. But yeah, that's for the gaining weight part. I think next topic is on how we lose weight, right?
Yeah, just to, I don't know, sneak in my opinion. I think if you can achieve it in terms of eating that much, or if you have access to the foods, also it's a financial decision. If you can do it, then sure, go for it with trying to just eat unprocessed foods, like drinking milk, eating more eggs. But I think protein shakes, especially whey protein shakes, are a very good alternative to people who might not have access to fresh produce, who may have a bit of a tighter budget when it comes to how they spend their money on food. And yeah, it's processed, but it's not chemical. I mean, whey protein shakes, sure, they have sweeteners and flavorings in it, but at least the protein part is from milk protein. The whey is milk protein. Yeah. So it's basically dried milk powder.
Yeah,
it's very simplified. It's very much simplified.
If you look at that way, yes, I'm with you. But as you said, a lot of sweeteners and conservation stuff and whatever is in there usually. So
which is not necessarily bad, but we can talk about this another time. I think we have diverging opinions on this.
Yes. But yeah, let's go through the direction on how to lose weight. And I think not necessarily weight, but usually, yeah, I want to lose my belly and I just want to lose the fat on my belly. So I'm going to do cardio, right?
Okay. This is a tough one because it will not make sense in the beginning, but I hope it will in the end. I do believe that cardio is a bad way to burn fat, which sounds totally counterintuitive because everyone tells you just move more, do more cardio if you want to lose weight. My argument is actually that of course, it's one way to increase your caloric expenditure. And at the end of the day, if you want to lose weight, what ultimately matters is you need to burn more calories than you eat. This is very simple. It's very simple thermodynamics. But while you can certainly keep eating the same and then just add more exercise on top to raise your calorie spending, it's hard to do this. Doing half an hour of running will, at least for me, it depends again on your sex, your age, and so on, how fast you run. For me, it's about 300 calories for half an hour, maybe 250, something like that, which is, if you then go back home and you look at the Snickers bar that you have lying around, which is also 250 calories, which is easier, going for half an hour run or just not eating that Snickers?
Yeah.
For me, not eating the Snickers is much easier. I'm not saying you shouldn't do cardio, not at all, but I think for weight loss, cardio is overrated.
What do you define as cardio though? What is cardio for you?
This is difficult because technically it can be anything from taking a walk outside to doing some high intensity interval stuff. So it can be running, it can be walking, swimming, cycling, really anything.
I think it's very difficult to really define it, because some people say, I'm just gonna lift my weights faster. That's also cardio. And for me, let's first say to burn targeted fat is a big bullshit. And the second bullshit is that cardio burns more fat. Because cardio is very good for your system, like for your general health, that you can get old, that you have air when you walk up the stairs, even though when you listen to me when I walk up the stairs, you would think I've never done sports in my life, but that's just the stairs. Anyhow, for me, cardio is a good baseline, like faster cardio in the morning, like really get your body going on an empty stomach, so you really can get into those, how you say, like into your intramuscular stuff. I'm not that science kind of guy, but like you get the things burning that they're supposed to burn and not...
You know that this is not really the case, right?
Yeah, I know, but...
Fasted versus fat cardio doesn't really matter for fat loss.
It helps me to really go in the morning and just do 30 minutes on the bike or walk for 30 minutes. If I tell myself it's going to help you more. Because if I'm not doing it, I'm not going to do the cardio. So for me, it's like bridging my mind to do the cardio, but it helps me to do it fasted. Because if I do it full, I'm going to puke.
Okay, that's a different story though. If it helps you in terms of mindset, then sure, go for it. If you otherwise have to puke, and I'm in that camp too, I cannot eat in the morning and then do a workout. I'm just going to throw it all up again because I'm getting super nauseous. Then sure, do it fasted. But it's not necessarily better for fat loss.
But isn't it that I don't know, I said not science guy, but lots of bodybuilders I also follow, because I'm also some person that follows people on Instagram. And a lot of people I follow, they're like, yeah, do it fasted. And also always assumed, because everybody around me, everybody I know that goes to the gym regularly, they do it always fasted because they say it's better. Never really questioned it, because the guys are like gigantic and they look ripped, so why challenge what they tell me? And I know I should do it more, fair point, but still, for me it was always like, yeah, if they tell me to, it makes sense. But for me it was always the mental aspect that really helped to do fasted cardio or go for a walk. I mean, today I went for a walk at like 5 p.m. Not fasted, of course, but I did it. But usually I try to do that kind of stuff in the mornings. But for me, it was always like, it's better. But what's the exact difference in the sciencey kind of way, not mental kind of way?
I mean, if you're training on an empty stomach, then obviously you need to get the energy from somewhere. Maybe you still have some in your digestive system and you can take the energy from there. Otherwise, of course, you will tap into the energy reserves that your body has. But that then really depends kind of what source you're using, really depends on how long the workout is that you're doing. Mostly you're going to use glycogen storage within your muscles and your liver. That's the first thing to go. And I think that will last about 45 minutes, 40 to 60 minutes.
Something like that.
Depends on how much they're filled, sort of. So if you're going for a 1 hour run, you will actually never tap into the fatty tissue as an energy source. And also, even if you did, they get replenished as soon as you start eating again. Especially if you're just maintaining your calories, then everything that you kind of borrowed will get replenished. Yeah. So ultimately, it really comes down again to being in a caloric deficit. And if it helps you mentally, or if you have to puke otherwise, then for all means do your cardio fasted. But I wouldn't stress too much about it from a weight loss or fat loss perspective.
Okay. Because I knew that there are some kind of, or I thought I knew there are some kind of benefits, but I wasn't aware that there's like, I knew that you tap into your like fat kind of areas after quite a long time. I didn't know there was this long of a time. But yeah, it's also good to know. Now you destroy my mental advantage, but that's fine. Hey, whatever. Thank you.
You'll find another one to get you motivated. Maybe that I don't outrun you on the stairs.
Yeah. My kind of cardio is I walk around for like an hour outside.
I mean, that's totally fine too.
Yeah, because running with I mean, I'm not that heavy, but it still hurts everything if I start running.
You're 110 kg. How is that not heavy?
That's still a lot of missing weight.
Okay. Okay.
Let's talk again in 20 kgs.
Okay, not gonna trigger your body dysmorphia. No, but walking is actually a totally legit form of cardio. I think many people underestimate it. You don't need to go for a run or a swim or bike.
Yeah, like a little bit. I love it when it's like slightly uphill. So you get your system a little bit engaged, you know. And I also like to, I know this sounds stupid, but there's like a road outside my apartment that's like a little bit steep. So I walk it up forward, then I walk like around the whole thing, and I walk it up backwards again. Because in my mind, like that's helping my knees and everything. I'm like, not sure if it helps, but it feels good afterwards. And I do my incline kind of walking forwards and backwards. So coordination wise, and usually I'm on the phone and, you know, looking around. So I also have to focus to not fall, like if there's something on the road. Funny videos there, but different topic. And yeah, it helps. And it's nice, fresh air, sun, rain, whatever. You just go out and do it, you know.
It doesn't need to be complicated. If this is the only thing you have access to, be it for injury or because this is your preference or because you don't have a fancy gym or access to a pool or whatever, then just go for a walk. The only kind of requirement is that it should get your heart rate a little bit elevated. It shouldn't be as easy as sitting around, of course. But if you meet that requirement, then by all means, just go for a walk.
So basically, you would also agree with me and conclude cardio or to burn fat to only do cardio is bullshit. It helps in terms of your entire system, your health, your heart and everything, but it's bullshit to just go running to lose weight. You rather go lift heavy ass weights, decrease your calorie intake, eat better, sleep better, drink more, and then you're gonna lose weight.
100%. I think it's totally overrated for fat loss. There's so many things you could do instead that are much more effective. You basically mentioned all of them, but I don't want people to...
Science points.
Yeah, no, I mean... but I don't want people to take away from this that they shouldn't do their cardio because it's important for cardiovascular health.
Yeah, I think 30 minutes a day, that's the goal. Like if you can do it once a week for 30 minutes, it's better than zero. If you can do it twice a week, it's better than one time. If you can do it every day for half an hour, perfect. Because I feel like half an hour a day, walking around or cycling, you can go on a Stairmaster and watch TV whatsoever, watch your soap show or whatever, but move your body for half an hour a day. Because I'm in the office all day. I have to make myself stand up because I have a standing desk. So I paid for it, so I'm gonna use it, but still I'm standing, I'm not moving. But it's already better than just sitting like 10, 12 hours a day in my chair, especially when I record a podcast in the evening, I'm still sitting again, you know. So I think half an hour a day is a good target. Start small with once a week, and then you can add up. And don't expect results if you want to lose weight overnight. It's the same as gaining weight. It's not going to happen in 3 weeks. It's going to take some time.
definitely. And everyone who promises that you can lose X amount of weight within 2 weeks or 4 weeks is either just bullshitting you or giving very dangerous advice.
I mean, I have advice to that. I lost 5 to 8 kilograms in like 4 days. And what helps is 40 degrees of fever. You puke and you have diarrhea. So basically 4 days of that, you're going to lose about 8 kilograms. Just FYI. Not recommended. Super annoying. And strength gain takes about 4 to 6 weeks after to be back on track. But that's how you can do it.
Yeah, there are ways how you can do it. It's just not the best way or not the healthiest or not the most sustainable one. That is for sure.
Fully agreed. But yeah. And moving on from that very disturbing kind of story, my favorite fitness myth is the no pain, no gain. And
Ooh.
I have a very distinct opinion on that, but what is actually the science way behind pain? How do you define pain in science? Before we go no pain, no gain, what is pain on a science-based discussion?
This is gonna take a while.
See you in an hour.
I mean, there's basically 2 levels of pain. Maybe to kind of cut it simple, you have receptors in your skin, in your joints, and so on, that can sense noxious stimuli, like something that is potentially harmful. For example, if you put your hand on a hot stove, then that intense heat will create this noxious, this harmful sensation, and that is recorded. But this is kind of just a sensing of something bad. The actual perception of pain only happens once this gets transmitted into your brain. So that's also how some painkillers work. They basically just block the transmission of that perception. But this is gonna be a very complicated discussion, so maybe we'll just leave it at that. For me, when it comes to no pain, no gain, what's more interesting is how we define the pain in a sense of which pain are we talking about? Is it along the lines of go hard or go home? Trying to train very hard with very high intensity, really pushing yourself, and that's going to be uncomfortable? Is it muscle soreness, that you basically cannot walk after a very intense leg day, and trying to sit down makes you feel like you're a 90-year-old person? Or is it some other form of pain, like experiencing pain in your joints, for example, when you do an exercise, or having back pain during deadlifts, stuff like that? I think that distinction makes a lot more sense to me in this context. And I would argue the last 2, so muscle soreness and having some sort of other pain during the exercise, is definitely not required and totally overrated. Especially, I mean, you should never feel like actual pain during a workout. If you have back pain during deadlifts, maybe you should stop, strip down the weight, and have someone check your form. I think this pain is not necessary and can lead to many problems down the road. Muscle soreness in my eyes is also overrated. It's basically just the combination of muscle damage and metabolic stress, which often happens if you do some novel stuff that you're not used to, but it's not necessarily a metric of how hard you trained. So these 2 I would discard and say, this ain't it. But if it's about how hard you push yourself, then I'm totally on board. Then if you don't experience some level of discomfort, not pain, but discomfort during the workout, if you don't push yourself really hard, very close to muscular failure, then I think it will not be very effective.
For me, as mentioned before, I like this like old school kind of hardcore gyms where you see all the dudes like making interesting noises sometimes, let's phrase it that way.
And faces, don't forget the faces.
And faces. But for me, like when I'm in the gym, I'm there for my mental health as well, and fighting my personal demons, but also doing something good for my body. And if there's no pain, it's not working, because I need to have this, or pain, this effect on my muscle, like when I do a dumbbell bench press and I like feel how everything is shaking and I almost get hit in the face with the dumbbell. I'm like fighting for my freaking life to push that shit up, and I'm like, let's go for one more, because why not? this kind of thing, and then you like feel your muscle is almost bursting out of your skin, and it is, in my eyes, it is pain. And that's the point I need to and I want to reach in the gym. Because as I said, for me, it's also a big part is actually the mental part, to be able to push yourself through a quite uncomfortable situation and push yourself through, beyond, and again for a second set through that, and like really feel the muscle, connect to it. That's the next topic, but I know really having this connection with the muscle and feel how the muscle rips partially apart, kind of speaking, not really, but kind of speaking.
Hopefully not really.
Yeah, but like you really go it all in. And like when I, for example, do my triceps push downs and pullovers and whatever, like my last superset, I feel like my arms are exploding and it's really painful. And that's like, okay, let's do one more set and then I'm gonna cry and I'm done, you know. And this is kind of the goal for me in the gym, to have this pain, this physical, like this connection to my muscle, to feel it, to feel the swollenness, to feel the blood rush in, and like to see, oh shit, I can't extend my arm because there's so much blood in it. And to have this, yeah, now it's good, I can't move it anymore. So like my workouts never look the same. If I, after like 3-4 working sets, my chest is like exploding, and if I just do one dip, I'm like, yeah, fuck this shit, it's gone. Then I listen to my body, I'm like, it's enough pain, there's nothing more we can do about it. Or I put the muscle through enough resistance so it doesn't need more. On the other hand, some days I need like 8 sets to get to there, or 8 working sets, not just 8 sets, but 8 working sets with the weight. But I think that's very interesting to have this no pain, no gain mentality, because at the end of the day, I'm also 100% sure if you're in the gym, if you're moving the weight and you don't feel it, and there's no pain, no nothing, you're not going to achieve anything. You look out that the machines don't break and they're well oiled and stuff, fair enough. Maybe it also helps a little bit with your back pain and whatever, so you're moving, which is totally fine, but you're not gonna build a lot of muscle if you don't have this stimulus on the muscle.
But for you, it's really the no pain, no gain is also about how hard you push yourself during your sets, and not like any other kind of pain that
yeah,
you
I mean,
could have.
I'm fully with you. Joint pain and stuff like this is, okay, I have to differentiate. My official opinion about joint pain is like, that's not good, don't do it. On the other hand, okay, I'm the guy in the gym, like I load up 60 kg on the bar for a bench press, like, yeah, my chest feels good, but my shoulder, let's go for 100. Okay, 100 feels better, maybe 140. Okay, let's go for 3 plates. 140 feels good, let's stay with that weight. Yeah, I know, not ideal, it works for me, and I'm also very strong. My opinion is quite strong in terms of, I believe if I can build the muscle to support my joints, it's gonna help it. And sometimes I'm gonna do a kind of wronger movement in terms of lighter weight, because I can, because my joints can handle it. But if I have heavy weight, I usually, not in a PR, but close to PR range, I usually have better technique, way better technique, because I'm also way more focused. Because if you throw around like 60 kgs on the bench, like, yeah, whatever, let's just push it, whatever, move it, it's warm up, before you go to your working weight, it's different for everybody. For some people, it's already the bar, but you know,
for me, 60 kg is the working weight.
So for me, like my one rep max is 140, and
nice.
At like 100 and 110, I try to rep it for 5 to 12, depends on the day and how well I've eaten. But in there, I have good technique. Some days, if I throw around to 60, I'm like, my shoulder, my wrist, my back, I don't know, it hurts. And then if I go up with the weight, I don't have the pain anymore.
But then it's because you're more focused on your technique, you're doing it more correctly.
It's mental.
Yeah.
It's purely mental. And of course, if you still would have the pain with 140 or 120, I suggest as well to don't do it. But if you have the same as me, that your pain goes away because you subconsciously improve the technique, or maybe your angle with your elbows is slightly different, maybe it's just that. Maybe your subconscious is triggered with heavier weight differently, better with lightweight. But at the end of the day, to come back to the statement, if you don't feel pain in whatever kind of sense it is in the gym, you're not going to progress fast. You will progress over time, because even if you just move the 1 kg dumbbells, there's something's going to happen if you do it enough, but it's way slower whether than you use the 20 kgs.
I mean, this obviously depends on where you're starting, right? For some people,
yeah, of course.
1 kg could be already close to what they can do.
Depends also on the exercise.
Exactly. But yeah, in general, you should train very close, if not to failure. What's your opinion on that? Do you always have to go to failure?
Yes.
Or, yeah? Okay.
Yes, every set.
Do you think it's not, because you think it's not possible otherwise, or because...
every working set. Every working set
Yeah.
needs to be to failure. And it depends on what I'm working on. But my goal is, if I say I want to go rep range 5 to 8, I want to have the weight that I'm going to fail at 8. And maybe I'm going to do 8.5. Because let's try for the 9th one. You know? But for me, it's like, I want to go to the limit. And I think that's something very personal. Because if you say, I need to have 1 or 2 reps in reserve, if it works for you, that's fine. For me, I need to go all out, power it out. I'm like, I'm going to die if I don't put it up. Like this kind of feeling. And then I feel good. And I feel the muscle responding well. My mind is fully focused. I feel the blood rushing in. And it helps me to really see what I'm capable of. Because my body is extremely lazy. I'm an extremely lazy person. So I need to go to this failure point to see, is it really the max? Because I'm just going to do 5 reps with 100 kgs. I don't know if the 5 is my max. Or if I could do 5 with 140, for example. Or squatting 1 or 2 plates. Is 1 plate enough for 5? Or is 2 plates enough for 5? So I need to go to the point where I can't move the weight anymore to be sure that I got everything out of the body. And even though then, if I have a spotter, I can get 2 to 3 more reps. Just to have this security. And it's all mental. It's purely mental, in my personal opinion. And for me. Very different for everybody, on the other hand. Do you go to failure, or do you stay within rep ranges?
It depends. So I think you brought up a very nice point, which is that, you could leave 1 or 2 reps in the tank, but you prefer to go all out because then at least you know where your failure point is. And kind of speaking from the science perspective, there's not really a benefit to always going to failure compared to leaving 1 to 3 reps in reserve. You make very similar gains if you stop 2 reps shy of failure. But I think what you brought up, and what is also my opinion, is that many people are just really bad at guessing where their failure point is, because you can really push through. At some point, I believe there is a physical limit. At some point, your muscle just cannot lift the weight for another rep. But it's also quite a lot of it is mental, what you also mentioned. If you have a spotter, you automatically feel safer, and then maybe you are a bit more daring and try to get another one because you know there's a spotter who could catch you. Versus if you're, let's say, benching on your own, then maybe you're a bit more on the cautious side. Which is also fine, because for compound exercises, I'm a fan of leaving 1 or 2 reps in reserve, just because the injury risk is a bit too high for the potential reward. But for other exercises, like most dumbbell exercises, and certainly machine exercises, I always go to failure on all sets.
I even go further. I go to partials. I always like...
Length and partials are great, man. I love them.
Like if it's a chest exercise, back or whatever, I'm like, let's go for some partials. And just, even though like rep number 5 seems to start to be a little dirty, and then at 8 you're like, it's not nice anymore, and then you yeet it a little bit with your whole body, and at least you get some more partials and do slow negatives, but just get to the fucking failure. Do it all and try to get as much blood into the muscle as possible.
I love that you mention kind of yeeting it up a bit with not so nice technique, but then controlled negatives, because this is such a powerful thing. And also what I do, just use some momentum, like the last 2 reps or so, or 3 reps, just use some momentum to get it up, but then lower it very, very slowly. So the negative should be very nice and slow and controlled. That's kind of how you, I think, can add some more reps and still make quite a lot of progress.
Yeah, but also there, a lot of people interpret it very differently. And if you like start yeeting with the first rep,
no, then it's too heavy.
Not
then
the right
stop.
thing to do.
No. If you're throwing the weight up in an uncontrolled manner, because otherwise you cannot get it up, then pick a lighter weight.
Also there, if it's if you want to go like, I don't know, you're bench pressing with the dumbbells, like the 20 kgs, and you're like, I want to go for the 25, so I just want to try how it feels. And you kind of yeet them up and you get like 2 partials or something like that. It's fine, because it's like you try something after your working sets or even before to see, is the weight already there or not? Fair enough. But if it's like every time, every round, every session, then it's the wrong thing to do in my eyes.
Yeah, then you should just keep your ego in check and lower the weight.
Yeah, sometimes it hurts though.
The ego? Yeah, hey,
Yes.
we're talking about no pain, no gain. So sometimes you have to inflict some pain to your ego, lower the weight.
Yeah. It helps though, it helps.
Yeah, it does. All right. So you were mentioning before that you actually like to feel your muscles as well, kind of feel the blood rush in, feel kind of a connection with your muscles when you do the exercises, and that going to failure actually helps you do this. There's also the idea of the mind-muscle connection, that you actually need to feel the muscle that you're training in order to make the workout more effective. Probably no one claims that you cannot build muscle if you don't feel it, but that it will be more beneficial if you do feel it. What's your take on that?
I stand 100% behind it. If you have a great mind-muscle connection, you're gonna make gains faster. You're gonna build your muscles faster. Because if I'm taking a shit on the toilet and I focus on my biceps, I'm getting a biceps pump, wiping my ass. And I feel the blood rush in.
Man, I don't want to know what you do while sitting on the
Just
toilet.
Just as an example, when I'm on a long plane ride, just as an example,
Okay.
long plane
Okay,
ride,
okay.
and I wanna get some blood flowing in my arms, I can do ghost reps of biceps movements, but my mind is focusing on restricting the movement. I can feel my arms pumping up, the blood flowing in, it's getting thicker. Of course, it's not a workout, but I can control my movement within the blood of my muscle on how the muscle is pumping up, is getting ready, it's getting warmed up, and it's ready to go for a fight, for arm wrestling, for whatever you do on a flight. But you can connect to your body parts if you want to. And I know it's super hard. I have no clue how to connect to my XYZ muscle. I'm not a science guy, so I don't know the muscle names. But for example, if I want to really work my lats, because my lats are shit, I really need to connect to my lats when I do a lat pull down to really feel the muscle doing the work and not any other muscle is doing the work. So for me, it's mainly controlling who's pulling, who's pushing, how is the exercise done. Because if I'm not focused on that, I might do my bench press with triceps instead of my chest. Because my triceps is strong, my chest is weak, so maybe it takes over. But if I focus on my chest can work it instead of my triceps. And I think for me, the differentiation is, and that's also, I know there are studies that say different thing. In my eyes, the main issue is probably 99 or 95 to 99% of people don't know how to connect to their muscles. Because most people never train this. We both come out of the martial arts area. We both know a lot about body control, but we're still also quite beginner level body control. We're not like 90 and did it for 90 years, but I can control also, for example, my toes. Like I can lift all my toes differently and control it. Like do like some, on the left side you lift this toe, on the right side this toe, and back and forth, stuff like this. So it's a lot about body control and really controlling the muscles doing this. And that's also then in the gym, in the exercise for me. So if I do a biceps curl, I fully focus on the biceps. And I said, wiping my ass gives me a pump as well if I focus on my biceps. Same. And I know it's something Marcus Rule said, but it stick to me. If you wipe your ass, you can get a biceps pump. And it's true. Try it at home. Focus on your biceps. No, kidding aside. If you do your biceps curl and you really squeeze the muscle and you lift your arm up to get in that little peak movement and have a nice peak in your biceps, and you don't feel your biceps, you're not going to have the same pump, the same amount of blood rushing into it, and you're simply not going to have the same amount of nutrients, because in my head, blood rushing in brings in building materials for the muscle, and the more that's going in, the more you can build at the end of the day. Science side we will hear in a second, but that's my logic. And for me, it's essential to have this. But let's see here the science corner of Nina.
Good. I mean, I think this is the first one that we truly disagree, because I think the mind-muscle connection is highly overrated. I'm not completely discarding it because there is some evidence that it can have an effect, but most studies basically found that whether you have this mind-muscle connection, whether you internally focus on squeezing a muscle, or whether you actually just focus on getting the weight up with proper technique, there's no real difference between the two.
But isn't it the same? Getting the weight up with proper technique is exactly mind-muscle connection.
So that's kind of where I think it might differ a bit, right? Because I've heard people, like, one aspect, how I understand the mind-muscle connection is really kind of having that mental connection to your muscle, to really feel it, to really think about squeezing it. And then kind of the other aspect, or like the opposite, would be to just kind of externally focus on moving the weight in the way it's supposed to move for that exercise, but without consciously thinking about the muscles that are involved. Here it's very hard to distinguish because you should still do it with proper technique. And if you do it with proper technique, you will probably feel the muscles that are engaging, and you will automatically engage the correct muscles. But I'm not actively thinking about squeezing them, for example. So I'm not sure whether this would count as a mind-muscle connection, because it's more by accident or by default that you do feel the muscles as a result of the proper technique, but not as a result of consciously thinking about them.
But isn't proper technique using the right muscle to do it? And you can only use the right muscle if you can give a command from your brain to use that muscle. Otherwise, it's the wrong technique.
Yeah, but do you really need to feel kind of individual muscles? You know, in a sense that, do you need to really feel how you squeeze them, for example, how they're contracting? Do you need to consciously think about this? Or could you also not, on bench press, for example, think about, okay, you have the weight, elbows about that angle from your body, then you lower the weight slowly down to your chest, pause, push it up with kind of pushing it backwards, using leg drive, stuff like that. Is that really mind-muscle connection, or is this not more focusing on external things, how you move the bar, how you use your legs? I'm not thinking about my pecs during that exercise.
I hope so, yeah. Maybe a little bit, but yeah, I don't know, to be honest. For me, it's a clear yes, because I need to target the muscle, otherwise other muscles gonna take over. Because as I said, my chest is weak as fuck, but my arms are much stronger, even though they're tiny. But you know, it's like they're gonna take over if I don't focus on my chest, and that's why I need to focus really on my chest muscle and really feel the pectoralis, I think it's called, and to really have the pectoralis push actually and pull my arms in and push the weight up, and not just my biceps and triceps doing their magic and throwing the weights up. But that's for me, and I believe a lot of people would benefit to target their muscles better. Like you see a lot of big guys, they have their front delts are quite developed from their chest because they're doing the chest day with their like shoulders rolled in. And that's for me also connected to mind muscle connection, but also technique. Because technique would be to pull your shoulders back, but to pull your shoulders back, you need to know which muscle to activate, and parallel also which muscle to use to push the weight then. So for me, it's technique is based on mind muscle connection to know which muscle to target, in my eyes.
It's a bit of a chicken and egg problem here.
Kind of.
Because I think we're kind of going in the same direction, which I didn't expect. But to me, I don't think it's a bad thing if you don't feel your muscle, as long as you have good technique and you just focus on moving the weight. But then again, I guess if you have good technique, you will engage the muscles that are supposed to be engaged during that exercise, which makes you feel them if you train hard enough, at least towards the end of the sets. So yeah, you will feel them. And I do think kind of being very conscious and maybe mindful about how you do an exercise, focusing on the muscles, that can really help to hone in your technique and get it really perfect. But I don't think it's necessary for muscle growth per se. So if my technique is shit, I could feel the muscle all the way I want. I don't think that will really help. You know, kind of what I mean?
I believe the muscle will grow, and it will grow big if you have a connection. Even though technique is shit, your joints are just going to complain.
Yeah, okay, fair
or
enough.
Your ligaments or whatever. But if you feel the muscle moving the weight, like when you do round back, super bad deadlifts, your muscle's gonna be sore, but your spine is also gonna complain the day after, even though technique was shit. But you had the connection to the muscle because they still had to pull it up, even though the technique was crap.
Yeah, but then if we're speaking from an optimization point of view, then that's also not great, right?
No, of course not. Technique is always very important, but in my eyes, somebody's going to the gym and lifting heavier weights, or per person this differs. Somebody is heavier at 40 kg, somebody's heavier at 400
relatively
kg,
heavy.
but
Yeah.
relatively heavy. Then I believe it's a lot about my muscle connection to have the target. Because I assume that they have technique, and then to improve the lift, connect to what is supposed to be lifting.
Okay.
Because I can lift much heavier deadlifts if I activate my upper body as well and use my lats and really focus on my technique. But in my eyes, it's doing this through my muscle connection, because I command my body what to do. Because I say, okay, this muscle do this muscle do this, squeeze, hold, push, pull, whatever. And that's my muscle connection for me, to be able to really target what body part does the work. For me, perfect example is toes to bar in CrossFit. You can do toes to bar with your kind of leg muscle or your connection to leg or your upper core when you like roll in your hips more. And I think you can differentiate which part of the muscle you're going to use. Of course, it's not exactly the same, but you can do it in two different ways or use two different muscle groups. If it's correct or not, I'm not a CrossFit person, I don't know. But for me, when I do it, I control it rather using my leg muscles more or my core muscles more, but I can target a different group for the same exercise. And that's for me my muscle connection.
But isn't that just by basically modifying your technique? Because when I'm squatting, for example, I'm not thinking about my quads or my glutes or my lower back. It's more like, okay, kind of, you take your stance, feet slightly pointed out for me, about shoulder width, then I think about driving back with the hips, trying to keep my posture as upright as possible, and so on. So these are not about specific muscles that I'm thinking about, but more like external clues on how to move in general.
I think at the end of the day, we go in the same direction. But for me, for example, I focus, okay, I lift the bar off. I'm like, okay, squeeze the core. So I focus with my mind on my core. And then I'm like, okay, let's get a big booty. My brain's moving into my booty and my hammies. And then I'm going to go down. And with my mind, I'm like in this muscle. And I tell the muscle to fucking grow and to push the weight up. I'm like really try to have this kind of connection to be able to push the weight or to lift the weight or whatever. And you go through, okay, these are my external circumstances, like I need to be tied to this and that. You go through the technique that the right muscles activate, and I go through my muscle connection that I focusing on activating the muscle through the exercise and not the technique through the muscles, kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of doing it from the opposite direction. You go muscles first, correct technique will follow. My approach is focus externally on what I need to do to get a correct technique, and then the right muscles will be activated when I do this. So it's kind of taking the opposite approaches to the same problem.
But at the end of the day, I still believe doing the rep, you need to feel the muscle. You don't need to. It helps to feel the muscle, to have more growth, more blood flowing in, more building blocks delivered to make your muscle bigger.
I mean, you will have more clearance of metabolic products, and you will also have more nutrients, more oxygen flowing to the muscle if you have more blood flow, that's for sure. I think, though, you don't have to start with thinking about the muscle, because you will feel it eventually if you push hard, if you do the exercise with correct technique. Yeah. But I think that actually illustrates or highlights the science very well, which doesn't really find a difference when you track long-term muscle growth, because you see about the same or like the same muscle growth with both like having this internal focus as you have versus this more external focus that I have. So I think it's just a matter of trying to figure out what works best for yourself. And if it really works for you, then great, man, like don't change it, keep it. But for me, that really doesn't work in that way. I'm more of an external person, like kind of trying to look at myself from the outside, giving myself coaching cues on what to do. And that seems to work pretty well as well. So I think it's probably a matter of personal preference.
Probably. But if I talk to anyone in the gym, like a lot of people I train with, amateur bodybuilders that have done shows, or also semi-professional bodybuilders, and I always, that's also something I mentioned in the beginning. If I go into the gym, I want to learn something, I usually ask the biggest guy, because there's a reason these guys are so big, right? And yes, maybe it's their personal preference, but I think there's something to it for the reason they're this big and this dedicated and this shredded. Yes, there's a lot of other topics that help for that, but I think the training style, and also 99% of them told me mind-muscle connection is essential for targeted growth, to really target a certain muscle, to grow that certain muscle, and not just grow any kind of muscle somewhere, because when you move weight, you're going to grow something. Question is it the right thing to grow? And that's for me, my conclusion. I just talk to the biggest guys I know, ask them for their clues, and I adapt it or try to implement it if it makes kind of sense for me. Because for me, I always try to go to people, because I'm not the big guy in the gym. So I try to go to the big guys because I want to get there at one point. That's why I'm going to get my clues from them. And even though science might say something different, sometimes you need to act irrational, I believe, to just break through a plateau or barrier to improve.
I mean, I'm not discarding the mind-muscle connection completely. I'm just, for me and what I've read kind of based on the scientific literature, I think it's overhyped. Although I think we also need to be careful with how we define it. Because if it's for you, basically, if it's more about feeling the muscles, feeling that the right ones are engaged, then it's kind of a metric on how good your technique is. My approach is more like, okay, you already have the correct technique, and now this is one thing you do extra. Kind of you try to squeeze it by mentally focusing on it. And then maybe we're actually talking about two different things that are named in the same way, or kind of grouped in under the same term. But if you look at it a bit more closely, then it's different. And I don't know these guys in your gym, but maybe they also kind of went into a similar direction, right? You need to feel the muscle during an exercise. Otherwise, you're doing the exercise wrong because your technique might be wrong. Maybe it's something different slightly different that we're talking about. Or kind of, we have different definitions of it, and then...
Same, but different.
Yeah. And then I think that can also maybe lead to some of the arguments that we see.
But at the end of the day, I think you can argue any point in any direction. So let's quickly conclude on the 5 topics we had today, if you're down. And I think we fully agree, you don't get bulky by accident, that's bullshit.
Definitely.
And the anabolic window is like a partial BS, partially true. Depends on how you define it, what kind of carbs, what kind of protein, when you eat it. Depends really on your personal needs and situation. And of course, cardio equals burning fat is also bullshit. It's good for your health, but you need to do it more to lose weight. And the last 2, you want to summarize them?
The no pain, no gain, we basically concluded is true, because you need to push hard, very close, if not to failure, to actually make progress. So we think this is actually a very valid point, although you shouldn't have any pain in your joints, for example, just generally speaking. And we haven't talked about it too much, but at least in my opinion, muscle soreness, that kind of pain is also overrated. You don't need to have it. As long as you push very hard during your workout, you're fine. And then the last one, with the mind-muscle connection, we seem to have a bit of a definition issue. I think we're not quite talking about the same thing, which makes it very hard then to argue against each other. But if I would have to summarize, what we do agree on is you need to have decent technique, and whether that is by focusing on the muscles that you want to engage and then the technique follows, or doing it the other way around, focusing on the correct technique by using external clues, and then the activation of the correct muscle follows. Both are 2 valid approaches to the same problem of, or like the same issue of having decent technique when you do exercises in order to grow the muscles that you actually want to grow. I think maybe we can summarize it like that, because that was the point that we most disagreed on, I think.
Fully with you. And I think that's a great summary of a little bit longer episode. And we said we're not going to use 2 hours, but we're almost there. Let's see if we can cut some minutes out. But on the other hand, there's not much more to say than like, follow, subscribe. Looking forward to the next episode. I'm on my way to the gym, maybe with some food. Let's see what the kitchen tells me.
Nice. Have a nice workout then.
Thank you. See you in the next one.
Focus on your muscles.
Will do. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. See you in the next one.